Hey everybody, this is Flavio Romeo, and on this episode of the Towncast, we had the chance to go down to Salt Pepper Ketchup, right in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and we met with Adam Faatz for the fourth time, because now he's finally officially the world record setter for climbing Mount Kilimanjaro with one lung, and he did it, and he's back, and he tells us a story. All right, enjoy the episode, everybody. All right, everybody. So we're back with Adam Faatz, but we're in Salt Pepper Ketchup. And if you don't know where Salt Pepper Ketchup is, it's right on Central Ave on the corner of Central and Forest, right in Hawthorne, New Jersey. And the reason why it's called Salt Pepper Ketchup is if you've ever had a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, or for my friends in South Jersey, a pork roll, egg, and cheese, first thing they ask you is salt, pepper, ketchup. And I tell you, they make unbelievable Taylor ham, egg, and cheese on a waffle, but their specialty, they have this amazing chopped cheese, which if you've never heard of it, Google it. This is the best in Jersey. Brought it over from New York, from the Bronx, and I highly recommend that you come and try the place. But today we're talking to Adam. Adam, thanks so much for coming back.
Of course.
So I don't know if you remember, scroll back, if you follow us on YouTube, scroll back several episodes. We've had him on 3 times. The first time we had you on, it was like we're in front of the Glen Rock Inn, and it was like, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
All right, well, you have any training? Nope. Do you know anything about it? Nope. What kind of gear? I don't know. If anybody out there knows, let me know.
Yeah.
So that was like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years.
It was last July.
It was the July before.
July before.
22.
Yeah.
So July 22, we had the idea of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And then we talked about his condition. He has pulmonary fibrosis.
Yep.
He had one lung removed.
Yep.
So not only climbing, what is it, the third tallest mountain?
So it's the tallest freestanding mountain in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's 19,000 plus feet. And I don't know if you know, when you get up to that certain altitude, it becomes a little difficult to breathe.
Correct.
With 2 lungs.
Yeah.
Let alone 1 lung.
Yeah.
So the last time we had him on, we showed all his gear. Of all of that gear that you brought, how much of it did you actually use?
All of it.
You used all of it.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you had a ton of gear.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
There was a few things I didn't bring. There was a big jacket. I didn't bring the jacket on the trip. It came to Africa, but I left it at the lodging. But for the most part, yeah, everything came.
I remember he posted. If you don't follow him on Instagram, follow him on Facebook. You'll see some amazing photographs and videos of his trip. I remember the first video was you flying. Obviously, you're at 35,000 feet, whatever it is, and then seeing the mountaintop above the clouds.
Yeah.
What did you think when you first saw it like that?
So it kind of plays tricks on you. So there's 2 mountains there. There's Mount Meru, which is a little bit shorter than Kilimanjaro, and then there's Kilimanjaro. Now Mount Meru, it's just a regular black mountain. But then Kilimanjaro, you go another maybe 3-4 minutes on the plane, and then you start to see snow. And you're like, oh, that's got to be it.
Yeah.
And you don't know for sure. But I've ever seen it, and we were starting to come down on our descent, so we were getting probably, I would say upwards of maybe 25,000 feet.
It gets closer.
It started to get real close. And I just kind of remember thinking, I was like, oh, that's not that bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, so you're looking down at it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this isn't even
How
that
bad could it
bad.
be?
But then you start to think about it, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is there snow there, but nowhere else? And so that's kind of when you see it, and you're like, oh, that's pretty big. But again, you're at a bird's eye view, so it doesn't really, you can't fathom it,
Yeah, it's the perspective is completely off.
Yeah, and your mind plays tricks on you because you can see the summit is above the clouds. But then you start thinking, oh, that's probably just fog. And so I really didn't get a look at Kilimanjaro until we landed. And then once you land at JRO or Kilimanjaro International,
How far is that from the mountain?
I don't know because our lodge was an hour and a half from the airport.
Okay. And then the lodge was
The
how
lodge
far?
was about a 3-hour drive.
To the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, so
So
it's
when you
pretty far.
landed and you're still looking at it, it's still like, nah.
That was when reality kind of set
Did
in.
it?
Yeah. So you're walking off. So it's international. So nothing. You don't have like gates. You get off the plane on the runway. So you walk. You walk
One of
down the
those.
lot. Yeah.
It's like you see in the movies.
Yeah. And then I remember we were going towards the building for like our customs check-ins. Visa inspection, stuff like that. And you can see the mountain in the background. But it plays tricks you though because all you see is this big mountain and then some white. And then it's clouds. And then every once in a while, you might get a little cloud break where you can see a little more white again.
Right.
And that was when you realize, like, oh, man.
There's a lot more above the cloud.
Yeah, that was our first. So that was my first real time seeing Kili.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get there, and you drive the 3 hours, and you go to the camp. Like,
Mm-hmm.
was that the first station?
So I got there on the 3rd of January, and we didn't start our trip to the 5th. So I stayed at a lodge. It's in a town called Arusha.
Is that where you got to meet everybody?
Yeah, so you meet everybody there. It's a really nice, it's on a couple 100-acre coffee plantation.
Oh, wow.
I had my own little house to myself.
Nice.
Yeah, and then you leave. So I got there on the 3rd, and then we left on the 5th for Kilimanjaro.
So how many other people were with you when you first got together and first started off?
There was probably, I want to say about 10 people from America, but then you meet your local team also.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So we had 42 locals with us.
Wow.
I think we had 9 guides total, all Tanzanians, and then porters. We had a chef.
Really?
Yeah.
And obviously they've done this a few times before?
So August, our senior Tanzanian guide, he summited with us. This was his 511th summit.
Really?
Yeah, 511.
511.
So we joke saying like, is that Uhuru Peak, which is the summit? That's his office. That's where his desk is and his chair.
511.
511. They call him the king of Kilimanjaro.
I mean, they're like the unsung heroes.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks about those people.
They absolutely are.
We should go back out there and get them on the podcast.
Considering it.
Do they speak English?
Some of it's broken.
Yeah.
August speaks pretty good English. But yeah.
We should do that. We should just go back out and...
I would love to. I'm thinking about going back out in January.
Are you really?
To do a second summit.
So tell me, because I know you pack shorts, you pack thermal gear, you pack... And then looking at it, if you look at it, Google Kilimanjaro, you'll see it's one of the only mountains really that has such a diverse temperature range.
There's 5 ecosystems.
5.
5.
Just on your way up.
Yeah, so every ecosystem on the world is found in Kilimanjaro. So you start in the jungle. You get into alpine desert, which is, it didn't really, it snows, but only like up very...
And the jungle is like, it's almost like a rainforest. I mean, it's
It's a jungle. Yeah, it's a jungle. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about like the Amazon rainforest, and that's what you're in. I mean, there's monkeys overhead, mosquitoes.
And we're gonna put some of these images and videos. You'll see it.
Yeah, it's very humid. Yeah.
So after that, then you get into like a more arid, dry, deserty.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
How far, when you first set off? I mean, I've like a billion questions.
That's fine. Yeah.
When you first set off, you saw the mountain in the distance.
No.
You couldn't see it.
Never saw the mountain. We saw the mountain for about 2 hours on our second day. That was it.
What happened?
The weather was terrible. The fog, the cloud coverage, and then the rain. You just couldn't see it. I mean, we were walking towards the mountain. You couldn't even see where you were walking. Yeah.
So the guides knew that the mountain was there. You couldn't see it. You couldn't see it at all.
Couldn't even see it. Nope.
How much rain did you guys get?
Oh, I don't know. I can tell you that all of our reindeer failed. I mean, we had got, we
got to write the companies and say, guess what, guys?
It started raining on day 2, and we had guys with $800-900 Arc'teryx jackets. Rained right through them. Nobody had anything that was dry for 8-9 days. Yeah.
So you're literally walking in soaked gear.
And mud over your boots. Yep.
How about your tents? Were they?
The tents were good. Jim and Chrissy, the Endeavor Expeditions, they're the owners of the company. They had just purchased brand new tents for everybody, and they're 6 feet tall. I had my own tent to myself, which was nice. But I think they're probably rated for 4 or 5 people.
How do you sleep in wet gear? Like, how do you?
You don't. You sleep completely naked.
Really?
You have to, because if you don't, you're so wet throughout the day that you'll literally develop like trench foot, but like throughout, we call it skin rot. So yeah, you have to sleep naked, and that's the only way you're going to stay warm. I mean, it was
But when you
freezing
got
cold.
dressed the next day, you're getting dressed in wet clothes?
Put wet clothes back on.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's like, I hate it when, like, you go swimming.
Yeah.
And then you change. You're like, let's go swimming again. It's like,
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
got to put a wet bathing suit on
And
again?
wet boots, wet socks. I mean, everything. Everything you have is wet. Yeah.
For 8 days.
Yeah. And it was cold.
Yeah, so you're going through the desert, and then the next ecosystem is starting to get drier, colder.
Yeah, so you go through, it almost looks like Death Valley, because like you'll go through, like there's just nothing there. There's no rocks, there's just nothing. And then all of a sudden you'll get out into like another camp, maybe Camp 3 or something, and then you're going to start your push to Camp 4, and then it turns into like this like glacier type rocky environment, you know, but there's no wildlife, there's nothing, you know, nothing can survive. It's uninhabitable. Yeah.
So how at this level, do you know how high you were at that level?
I don't.
How many camps were there?
So we stayed at 4 camps going up, and then 1 coming down.
A little easier coming down?
No, way harder.
Is it?
No, the coming down was the hardest part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we get there,
Yeah.
I want to get up to the summit.
Yeah.
So, when did you finally see, like, your goal? When did you finally see?
When I was on top.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so summit night is tricky because you started at midnight.
Oh, so it's completely dark.
So it's completely dark, and I mean,
Did you ever see more stars in your life?
Yes, and I have really cool pictures I can send you.
Really?
Yeah. So the Milky Way galaxy, I mean, it's clear as day. You know, and I don't know if people have ever seen the Milky Way.
Because there's no light at all.
There's no light at all. I mean, you're
stars.
at this point, you're on the border of Kenya and Tanzania. And you actually, the day before summit, you walk through a certain part where it's called the Great Migration. You see it on TV. It's when the thousands and thousands of animals start moving through, like the Serengeti.
Yeah.
You can actually see the game trail that comes up over like through Kilimanjaro National Park.
Really?
It's really cool. You can see like the rhino tracks and the buffalo, and I mean, it's just a huge. It looks like an off-roading trail, and it's from all the animals.
So they go over there?
They don't go through they go through part of the park from Kenya.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. I mean, we did see a couple like deceased, you know, animals who didn't make it. No lions or anything like that, but like big like buffalo and you know, things of that nature.
You didn't see any people that didn't make it?
No, there's no bodies on the mountain. Not like
They
Mount
clear
Everest.
those out.
Yeah. They get them out of there. But there's also a medevac option. So if like you do need a medevac, they can get you. I think it's up to like 18,000 feet.
Yeah, because then what? Choppers can't go above that.
Yeah.
It's just like sick.
So you're pretty much they're gonna throw you down the mountain to 18,000 feet.
Listen, you're in 19.5. You're gonna land at 18.2. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, then the top of the mountain too. People don't realize it's a glacier.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Like it's literally just it's an iceberg.
Yeah,
so you can't land a helicopter there.
And it's not like you're walking on 2 feet of snow. It's just
Yeah.
Snow can't survive up there. Just immediately turns to ice.
Yeah. We had probably 3 feet of snow, but it was kind of packed down from the people in front of us.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about you only have that much room to give and take. Right? You
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
But yeah, so the summit night started on the morning or the night, however you want to look at it, of day 8. It started at midnight from Camp 4. Now, Camp 4, I want to say it's probably close to 16,000 feet. But you're only at Camp 4 for like 8 hours. You get there at like 12 in the afternoon, you have to eat your lunch, and then you rest until 10 o'clock at night, and then you get up. So so it took us about 9 hours from Camp 4 to go another 5,000 feet.
Were you still wet?
Oh, soaking wet.
I can't get beyond the wet.
Soaking wet. Totally soaked. Yep. No dry gloves.
Is that normal or?
No, that was completely abnormal. So from what I understand, August, our local guide, who's over 500 summits, he's never seen weather like this, and we tried to get around it. I mean, we walked the entire mountain.
Oh, way around.
We went around, to try to get away from the rain, and we couldn't. So there was some speculation of maybe like an El Nino coming through. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist.
Right.
You know,
Just a lot of rain.
I just know that it was raining a lot, like a lot. It didn't stop. It was unbelievably relentless. It reminded me of Forrest Gump
Right.
when they're in the jungle and the rain's coming up from underneath. That's what it was like. Yeah, but cold. Yeah.
And you know that at the higher elevations, that was the snow that you guys eventually encountered.
So the snow, that was the best part actually, because that was the only time we got warm.
It was with the snow.
Was with the
When it
snow,
stopped raining.
and it's because it stopped raining. But I remember getting about halfway up on summit night, and it was still dark, so we can turn around. And we didn't realize we were above the clouds at this point, but you could see the lightning in the distance, and you're above it. It messes
So
with your
you're
head.
watching the lightning below you.
Yeah, it messes with your head a little bit. But then it was actually starting to get warmer because there's no wind, there's no rain. All you're doing is just looking straight down at your feet.
It's just air, like barely.
It's just air, yeah.
How did you feel? I know you did a lot of training with Dr. Jan, who
Yep.
you know is amazing. And,
Yeah.
You know, we had him on the second episode. So I know you did a lot of training. Could you feel when you were at that level? I mean, were you feeling the difference in breathing, or were you trained enough that
I
just
actually,
adjusted?
I think I was a little bit overtrained. Like I was over prepared for it because I found it to be very easy. Somewhat.
That part of it.
Somewhat. I was very arrogant in my own mind until I had to come down the mountain. But as far as training goes, I was definitely prepared.
You were.
Yeah. Absolutely
You did
prepared.
a great job getting you ready.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And guys, again, if you don't know, if you haven't watched any of the other episodes, Adam has pulmonary fibrosis, which has a life expectancy of
On average, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. And how long ago were you diagnosed?
Well, so there's the thing. I got diagnosed at 28. It was Veterans Day 2018, but we were able to kind of track it back to 2012.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's 2012. We're in 24 now, and not only that, but you had a lung removed. So
That was the diagnosis. Yeah.
So you know, it's and you know we've had a lot of postings, and a lot of people said, I don't care if he has one lung. I couldn't do it in 2 lungs.
Yeah.
You know, so there was certainly a lot of training that had to go, and I guess you ask Dr. Jan or any of the doctors, there's no such thing as overtraining.
Yeah.
Just getting prepared.
Yeah.
So summit night, you get up, you're ready to take off at midnight. How long? Did they tell you how long? Well, there's no time.
There's
right?
there's no time on the mountain. That's one of the things you got to understand, and that's something that taught me a lot of patience. Because I like to go hiking. I'm going to go hiking after this podcast with my dog. I like to go quickly, but in Tanzania it's pole, slow.
Pace
You have to go
yourself. Pace
slow,
yourself.
and it is slow, man. I mean, it's boring for me. Like I was just, it's
It's a
3
step
steps a minute,
by
and it's just
step.
like, come on,
It's gonna take forever.
But summit night was kind of cool because it messes with your head because you're going. I mean, it's straight. It's if you don't lean back or if you don't lean forward enough, you're gonna fall down the mountain. That's how steep it is.
So you're just constantly like, for how long?
Yeah.
How long was summit?
It took about 8.5 hours to get to the summit.
Of just constant
Just
slow walking.
uphill. Yep. I think we stopped maybe twice for like bathroom breaks. And then when I say bathroom, I mean you're going on the side of the trail.
Oh, they didn't have porta johns.
No, they didn't carry that. The porters didn't carry
You
that.
couldn't stop at the Marriott.
But yeah, it was about 8.5 hours. So that's to the crater rim. So they call it the crater rim. There's 3 summits on Kilimanjaro. There's the crater rim or Gilman's Peak, which is like 18,200 feet. And then you go another 45 minutes on the crater to Stella's Point, which is another 500 feet or so. And then it's another hour from there to Uhuru Peak, which is the official, that's the tallest point.
That's where we have that picture of you.
Exactly.
Right there, 19,000.
Yeah, so it took about 8 hours to get to the crater rim of the mountain, so the top of the mountain, but then it took another 2 probably to get to the actual summit of the mountain.
When you were up at the crater peak, were you able to see the rest of it, or were you above the clouds at that point?
So
Or was it still dark?
So yes and no. We got to the crater rim. The sun was coming up, and that was actually when we realized how high we were. Because you can't tell how high you are in the dark.
Right.
I mean, you can feel it.
Black.
You got teammates. And they all made it incredibly. who are, seriously dealing with like altitude sickness, or AMS, acute mountain sickness.
Yeah, what happens when you have AMS?
It depends. It could be life-threatening, or it could just be like a physiological response. Luckily for them, it was just physical, physiology.
Yeah.
Nausea, vomiting,
Throwing up.
things like that. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
air's thin. I mean, you're not, if you don't train.
So it's 50. The summit of Kilimanjaro, I think, is 55 to 60% less oxygen than like at sea level. So
That's a lot less.
Yeah, and then and then you're walking up too, and it's, you're out of breath. I don't care how much training you do, you're going to be out of breath naturally.
And that's with 2 lungs.
Yeah. Like you can't train for the weather. There's no way to
train for rain.
Yeah, you can't replicate that. So yeah, but it messes with your head though, because you're climbing up and all you have is headlamps, and now the Milky Way is up ahead of you, and like you just keep looking up because you want to see how much further you got, but there's nothing to see except stars and little dots from other people that are ahead of you.
Yeah, there's no reference point.
So it messes with you because what you're actually looking at, and so a lot of the times you'll stop and you'll stare up ahead, like looking up at the stars, and you think you're looking at these beautiful stars and they're headlamps.
Because
all of a sudden you'll see like a flash, you're like, oh man, like how much further do we have to go? Yeah.
Wow, so 8.5 hours on the final climb.
And then, I think we ended up coming down off of the mountain probably about 11:30. I came down by myself because I started to get kind of sick.
Okay.
So I came down by myself with the first ever female guide on the mountain, actually.
Really?
Yeah, her name is Lightness. We called her Lightness. She brought me down the mountain, but just by myself.
It's always been men for the most part?
Yeah. But Jim and Christy and August, they coordinated to have the first ever female guide, and she was with us.
All right, shout out to Lightness.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lightness.
Yeah.
Congratulations, being the first ever.
Yep.
Well, and not only that, but we have a record setter, and we're going to talk about that. Adam is the first person in history, not only with pulmonary fibrosis, to climb Kilimanjaro, but with 1 lung. All right, so I challenge anybody out there to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and try to do it with 1 lung. So you pretty much, you set a record. You created a record.
Yeah, so the official Guinness Book of World Records is going to be... So Guinness is a very competitive industry. Yeah. So the problem with it is when I proposed my record to be the first person with PF, pulmonary fibrosis, to do this, they were in support of it. Now the problem is they weren't going to publish it, because if they publish it, no one else can beat it. So if you're first at something...
There's no target.
Exactly. So if you're the first at something, how can someone else be first again? So... What the record's going to be is the fastest time to summit Kilimanjaro with pulmonary fibrosis.
That way it gives somebody
something
attainable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's pretty awesome, because for people out there that have it,
it gives them
the inspiration and
it's honestly a very easy record to beat, because you can do a 9-day route on Kili, or you can do a 5-day. So if you do the 5-day, I think your success rate is less than 20%. But it gives you an option. You can easily beat that record.
There you go. So, listen, if you have pulmonary fibrosis and you want to challenge yourself the way Adam has, and again, for those that don't know the backstory, so Adam is a veteran. He was in the Army, and you were in Special Forces, right?
So I worked with them.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
All right. So when you summit and you're walking, because I remember we talked about this beforehand. Mm-hmm. You want to see the sunrise.
Yes.
On the peak. So when you saw that sunrise, how did that feel?
It's emotional. Everything kind of comes together. Like it's like, all right, the year of training and just misery of getting ready for this finally has hit. And it's really cool because it's so shocking, because you don't realize that you're above the clouds.
Yeah.
And when I say above the clouds, I mean you're 1,000 feet above the clouds, and there's just nothing above you. And it's
just sky.
It's just sky. And it's
it's all blue because there is nothing else.
There's nothing else. Yeah. So the sun was coming up, and I mean it's super cool because you're above it, and like you're literally watching the sun come up towards your feet. And that's when you start to see, like, oh man, we're above the clouds, and like we're almost at the summit. That's the first time you see it. Yeah.
And it was the first time for the whole trip, pretty much, because you couldn't see the mountain almost the entire trip.
Yep.
So listen, follow Adam, Instagram, Facebook. Check out some of the pictures, the stories. And the reason why you did it, I know you want to raise money and awareness.
Yeah.
for pulmonary fibrosis. Do you know offhand how many people are diagnosed with it?
It was a lot less until COVID hit. So COVID, so they a lot of people, they'll call it COVID lung, and it's sadly a lot of people they succumb to from COVID. That's that lung infection that turns into scar tissue. I think right now in the United States there's like 200,000 people annually.
Yeah.
So it's becoming more prevalent.
Yeah, people don't. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Up until I met you.
Yeah.
And then reading up on it, there's a lot of people that have it, and there's not a lot you could do about it.
There's no treatment. There's no cure. The only thing you can get is a lung transplant. But I mean, that comes with its own risk too.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother had a liver transplant.
Yeah.
You don't know if your body's going to accept it. You don't know if it's going to reject it.
Or how long it's going to last.
And if it rejects it, it's not like, oh, let's give him another lung.
Yeah.
I mean, people are on this list for a long time.
Yep.
So I know you're raising money. Tell me a little bit about your fundraising.
Yeah, so we raised over right now $32,000.
That's great.
One of the
no money went to Adam. You funded this whole thing yourself.
Yeah, everything, from the gear, the flights, the travel insurance.
Can you share how much the whole thing cost?
I would say probably upwards of $20,000.
$20,000 funded by him. And I asked him early on. I'm like, "Well, you want to do a fundraiser? Have people?" No, he goes, "Nope, just all the money I wanted to go to this disease."
Yeah.
So you raised $30,000,
Yep.
and I know we talked about how you want to, where you want to share that money. So talk a little bit about that.
So there was originally a couple organizations that I wanted to deal with, but I kind of stepped aside from that because I want to make sure the money's going to where they say it's going. There's one organization, the New Zealand Asthma and Respiratory Foundation. They've been a huge supporter. I mean, they've got me on Pharmacy News today, the New Zealand Herald.
Nice.
So they've been a big supporter.
And what's the name? Let's shout them out.
It's the Asthma and Respiratory Foundation of New Zealand.
I already forgot it.
Asthma and
Respiratory
Foundation of
New Zealand. So you can look them up. I'll put the link.
Yeah.
I'll put the link here. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Chloe, her name is. She's like the director. She's been
Shout
great.
out to Chloe.
Yes. Yeah. She's been awesome. And one of the things I like about them, because at New Zealand being in like the Ring of Fire, like the Pacific Ring of Fire, the volcano, asthma is very prevalent.
Lord of the Rings.
Lungs exactly. Yeah. So one of the things they do that I like is they have emergency rescue kits, like breathing kits, in all their schools and hospitals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they fund those on donations. So one of the things I'd like for that is I don't know really how it'll help pulmonary fibrosis, but I feel like maybe can help prevent it.
Yeah.
Is to fund a lot of the money. I'm hoping will go towards funding schools.
That's a great idea.
Like emergency breathing.
Respiratory kits.
Exactly.
Because they got defib and
Exactly. So yeah.
But you don't even think about if someone has a puffer and runs out. You don't
exactly. So that's something I think we should probably incorporate too in the United States.
And I know you had some people that you've been tracking.
So there's someone in particular. Her name's Miranda. She lives down in Texas. She's a mother. She's 28, going to be 29 soon. She was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis at the age of 13. 13.
And again, this is like 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. So she's been or 12 years old. So she got put on a transplant list at 13 years old. And
how old is she now?
Going on 29.
And she still hasn't
received a transplant. Finances I think are a problem. It really makes me want to like introduce some sort of legislation about like the organ transplant program in the United States, because it's not what I expected. I thought like you're dying and you need an organ transplant, but she's been denied for reasons because the doctors didn't feel like she had enough social support outside of her immediate family. So basically they said she didn't have enough friends, so they denied her for that.
So you're better off just dying, because
Yeah, and one of the things too people don't realize is you need to have a lot of cash up front. I think she needs to have $40,000 up front to pay, and basically
even if she has insurance.
Yeah, yep. And basically what that's showing the hospital, the transplant center, is that you're going to take it seriously.
What?
Yeah, it's like you're going to have enough money set aside that you're going to give the transplant center up front to cover the cost of like medications.
That's insane.
So yeah, even with insurance. So like her, for example, I want to put what I was originally going to give to a foundation here in the United States, I want to take all that money from them. Not from them.
Yeah,
Instead of giving it to them, I want to give it to like somebody like that. Like help people individually.
Yeah. Well, at least that way you know.
I know where it's going,
Yeah.
and to me, it makes a bigger impact.
Yeah, not to take away from foundations, but oftentimes you donate $10,000 to a foundation.
You just don't know
and
where
it
it's
could be-
going.
It goes to 20 people, and they each get $500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which really can't. It helps, of course. Everything helps, but it doesn't necessarily. I mean, it's not $40,000.
Yeah. So I want to do things like that. So I'd rather just keep. And if the fundraiser's still going, I'm going to shut it down April 1st.
Okay, so how can people?
So there's a link. It's called Spot Fund. It's sort of like GoFundMe.
Is it on your Facebook page?
It is, and Instagram.
Okay.
And there's no credit card fees. I had coordinated with Spot Fund to make it to where if people want to use credit cards, debit cards,
There's
obviously
no charges.
there's no charges. But then you can also give offline donations. So if somebody saw me like, hey, man, here's $20 for your foundation, I can enter that in as a donation.
Okay.
And it all goes into an escrow account.
Nice.
So like I'm not gonna just take all the money and then distribute it. It goes into like an actual holding account through
Right.
Spot Fund.
And then you say, hey,
And
some of it's going here.
And the cool thing about Spot Fund is it's a newer company, but there's no processing fees, and they are going to give me 100%. They're not taking a single cent from the donations.
Nice.
Where like places like GoFundMe, they take like a
Yeah,
10%. Spot Fund is completely. Here you go. Here's all of it. You collected 32,000. Here's 32,000.
Nice.
So that's
we're
pretty
going to
cool.
put their little link down
Yeah,
there too.
yeah.
So make sure you check out his Facebook page and his Instagram page. And I know that we've talked about, you've got some plans now. Now that
Yeah.
you've achieved Kilimanjaro, let's talk a little bit about that.
Sorry, Mom.
She doesn't know.
No, she doesn't know.
Surprise!
She doesn't know yet. So there's a gentleman, his name is Mike Hamill. There used to be a show on Discovery Channel back in like 2008. It was on for a couple of years called Everest. I forget the name of it. It was Everest something. So Mike is from New York State, up north by the Adirondacks. He was the one who led all the trips on Mount Everest on that show. He also wrote the book Climbing the Seven Summits, which became like a #1 seller.
Yeah.
I've been working with Mike to see what I can do, because obviously finances, it's not cheap to climb these mountains. So I reached out to Mike. I'm going to be taking a 7 Summits prep course in July down on Mount Baker in Washington State, which is, it's only like 11,000. It's 11,000 feet.
That's all.
But the whole point of it is to prepare you, to teach you like crevasse rescues, self-rescue, skiing, knot tying, ropes, things like that.
Is that more? It's not taller,
more-
but it's more challenging.
Yeah, it's kind of to prepare you for what's coming.
Okay.
So if you don't
So
know,
you had this conversation with them.
yeah, it's already in the works.
Wow.
Yeah, so July.
what's going to be your first challenge after your prep course?
I think they're pushing for Mount Vinson, which would be
Is
my
that in Australia?
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
Antarctica.
Yeah. So the 7 Summits is the tallest mountain on each continent. The most famous, obviously, being Mount Everest.
Right.
You know, that's it's Asia, I guess. Everybody knows Mount Everest, but people don't realize like Mount Kilimanjaro is also one of the 7 summits.
Yeah.
So this was a twofold kind of mission I went on. It was a fundraiser.
But were you thinking about?
I was.
You were.
Yeah,
Really?
I've been thinking about it way ahead of time.
All right.
I was in the works.
So Antarctica,
Yeah.
like people don't live on Antarctica. There's no people.
No. So it'll be Mount Vincent or Mount Elbrus, which is in Russia. So that'll cover Europe.
Save that to the last one, would you? With all the Russian
So actually,
stuff.
the last one tentatively would be Australia, because Australia is only like 5,000 feet, which is basically the Catskill region.
Right.
But the cool thing about Australia, if you do that last, you can bring all your friends and family to do it with you. Because
Oh,
it's
that's
not
cool.
like a technical mountain. It's just kind of like walking up, almost like McFarland Ave for, you know.
For a couple hours, for a couple days.
Yeah. So
All right.
so they want. Mike thinks that Australia is the best to do last because it's
So
the
maybe
easiest.
we'll do that. Maybe
Let's
we'll
do it.
we'll come with you. We'll get everybody. We'll get everybody to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
We'll do a little live.
We'll do it
stream.
live.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is we're talking about this is a 2-3 year project in the making.
All right. So you're gonna keep us posted.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. I mean, he's a regular at this point.
Yeah.
He's raising money for pulmonary fibrosis. He's raising money for Miranda and other people that need it, and for the Asthma and Respiratory Foundation of New Zealand.
Got it. Yeah.
You say it enough, and it sticks.
Yeah.
So I encourage you guys to follow him. Reach out, even if it's $1, $2, whatever it is. If you see him, throw them $5, $10, and help support this, because there's no cure. You have it and you have it. That's it.
Yeah.
You just have it.
Yeah.
And with the life expectancy so short, it's kind of sad that there's not more awareness about it. I had no idea about it.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to follow Adam Faatz. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram. If you can donate, great. If not, donate encouraging comments, because that's also a big help.
Yeah.
And thanks again.
Even support, just Facebook message or just follow. You can follow me. You don't have to add me as a friend. I set it up to where you can just follow.
Nice.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Little things. Yeah.
All right, and you'll keep us posted on your next mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably back off of the Antarctica, but the Australian one sounds pretty good.
Well, you can always come to Russia, or you can even do Everest. Do the Everest base camp.
Isn't there a fun mountain in Italy?
Probably. Well, you tell me. You're
Let's walk the Alps. Let's just do
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, so make sure you follow him, give him your support, and I really appreciate you guys. So we're gonna have a guy from Glen Rock. We're gonna have him on the podcast. He did climb Mount Everest, so I'm gonna introduce Adam to that gentleman, John Gray, and we'll have him on the podcast as well, and they can compare notes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
All right, be well, everybody.
Thanks.